Hi everybody, I know you can't hear me because we got the road right there and we got the water back there, but this is where Grandma and I first got married. It's the Ogden Temple. See that sunset, and then behind us right there is the Institute building where we actually met the first time. So just right across the street from the Institute building is this house here. And this is where Betty used to live.
In the basement.
And there was dorms there with, how many girls did you have there?
3.
3 girls that she loved. So Betty used to live in the basement here. And I'd ride up with my motorcycle and park it right here, or my car, and this is where I picked her up on our dates.
And the first time he picked me up here, he brought this really ugly car, and it was a station wagon, and Grandma doesn't like station wagons. And the next time Grandpa picked me up for a date, he picked me up in this really classy candy apple red Honda Accord. And I thought, from a station wagon to a Honda Accord? Are we kidding? This is crazy. And anyway, this is the house where that all started. This is our island. We used to sit there and we would talk about one day we'll have children.
That's right.
And I wonder what they'll grow up and do. Wow.
Now we have grandchildren.
Yay!
This is on the campus of the school.
Dixie State.
And it's
now university.
Yep.
Was Dixie State College when we were here. Okay, so this was our very first house, and we lived, do you see where that, right there? You would go
in the basement.
Down into the basement of that apartment. And when we lived here, when we moved in, I also got a full load of piano students. So this one came with a house to rent and a full job. I mean, I had a lot of college pianists.
You had 40 students that she gave you. All right, so this is the house that we lived in.
When we were pregnant with our first daughter.
And the upper area where you can see the windows, that's where we lived. We lived in the attic of the house.
And there was a bedroom right there. And beyond that was a kitchen, living room, bathroom. And then beyond that, there was one more room, which we had a beanbag chair and a TV stand. We didn't have a TV yet. And then beyond that, there was a back deck. And all along the side right here was these delicious raspberries. And so we could go out and pick bowls of raspberries and eat raspberries and milk in the morning.
It's very good. So after we lived in the house we just showed you there, we came over to this house and lived here, but this was not furnished. This house did not have any furniture. This house was completely empty. And so we moved in with 4 chairs.
Swivel chairs.
And speakers.
And the speakers were our couch.
And did we have a piano or did we buy one when we got here?
We bought a piano while we were here, a very old piano. And we lived in the basement right there. And we had a car named Dumb Dasher.
And we parked it there.
Along with our motorcycle.
That's right.
And Bob our car.
Bob our car.
This is our apartment up at 6 North in Salt Lake City, and we were pregnant with our first child here and moved out when she was 3 months old. So that was our house.
And then this is
And we were still kind of newlyweds, and there was somebody that lived up in the corner up there who had like 8 kids in these tiny little apartments. And then these were some friends who was our very first babysitter for our very first child. And yeah, that's the whole apartment complex right there.
Hello, this right here is our first house that we bought when we just had 1 child. It's 6 bedrooms. And so we never even used the basement.
Well, for piano lessons.
That's right. We had a music studio in there.
And so we're gonna take a little turn. When we moved in, this very busy street was it was paved, but little more than a 2-lane dirt road. This over here used to be a chicken coop. It's now 6400 Commerce Park. And all of this came in while we were living on this road right here. That's our first house.
Then we moved to Clearfield, and we lived in a house for only 9 months. Brother-in-law installed the heating system, and it was an awesome system, and we got it for a computer. There also, we got to see some really cool planes because we were next to the Air Force Base. One day, we got a call, and we thought, we should move to Seattle, because a job was offered to me to be able to go to work Seattle and put in a brand new cell phone system. So what happened is these big old trucks pulled up to the house, and they loaded the entire house into 2 semi-trucks. And then they moved us clear up to Seattle, and they kept the stuff in storage, and we lived in a small apartment building in Kirkland. And in that apartment building, we had 3 bedrooms, and we had everything provided for us. So we had sheets, dishes, everything. And we even had maid service. It was great. We did that for 3 months. Then we moved to Clearview, and in Clearview it was great. It was green. Everything was green in Seattle. And we got to mow the lawn, and the lawn was huge. We had 1.25 acres of grass, and we mowed the lawn with a riding lawnmower. And it was so awesome, I never had to mow the lawn because everybody fought over who's going to ride the lawnmower and mow the lawn. She liked to mow the lawn the best.
I would jump the riding lawnmower.
So we had a fun time with that in Seattle. We lived in Seattle for a long time, for about 7 or 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm. So we moved from Washington State to southern Utah, and we were able to sell the house for such a profit that we paid cash for this place, which ended up being a big, big blessing. We had 4 children, and we birthed our 5th child while we were living in this house. The funny story about this house is that when we were pregnant with a girl, and as soon as we delivered, and we had a
boy.
Girl baby shower and everything, and we delivered a baby boy. And so right there on the big windows that you can see, we put "It's a boy," and people from the neighborhood were like, "I thought you were having a girl." And anyway, it was really fun because this house sits up, so we displayed to the whole world we had a boy. This was our next house. In this house, I got my dream piano, a Kauai, a 7-foot Kauai. And we literally bought this house so that we could have the piano. We lived here for about 7 or 8 years and loved it up here. This house is what we called the palace. This house, which looks very little from the front, is actually 6,000 square feet plus. It has 3-car garage up, 3-car garage down. The garage downstairs,
We put in a theater. We had a projector there, and we watched movies there because it was a 3-car garage, but it was unfinished. And so that's what we turned into a theater.
in this house, we had my dad living with us, we had 5 kids, and every weekend we would have a whole bunch of young adults come over, and by a whole bunch I'm talking somewhere in the neighborhood of 100. And this house didn't even breathe hard. They'd go downstairs, they'd watch movies, play their games, shoot pool, ping pong. We had all of it, trampoline, everything. And in this house, this was the pinnacle of owning everything. We had the big house, we had a limousine, Eddie Van Halen's limo, we had a Mitsubishi 4x4, we had a convertible Mustang, candy apple red. I mean, we had everything here. And this was a super fun house. Of all the houses we've owned, this one has been my favorite.
So this is a house we lived in, and we rented it for about 3 years. What we liked about the house is in the back, there is a river called the Virgin River, and we like to float the Virgin River in the summertime. And what we did was we'd walk up the river, and we put our tubes and floating devices in the river and float down the river until about a mile later, we'd get out of the river and walk back home, and that'd take about 2 hours.
We went very slowly. So this is where we moved next, and this house is great. We moved into this house on my 50th birthday, and the joke was that Brad bought me a hot tub for my 50th birthday, and there was a house attached.
So it was an expensive hot tub, but the house came for free.
So my sister once upon a time said, "You guys have lived in some places."
And we have. We showed you all the different places where we lived. We have lived in some big houses and in some small houses. And we lived in some attics even. But it's been
And lots
a
of basements.
great time because it's not really the house that matters. It's us that matters. Living together with the family, it's where our heart is that matters. So
Loving
it really
each
doesn't
other.
matter how big or how small the house is because we've been in both. And what it is how you have your family and how much love there is in your family. It has nothing to do with your house. A house is a house.